Hello everyone, welcome back to Life Stories. My name is Trent, and we are back as usual with stories from Reddit/idontworkherelady. Let's get started. Our first story is titled, I do work here, so you don't anymore. I don't know if this exactly fits here, but I have to share what happened at work yesterday. I work in a reception area as an assistant to one of the vice presidents at a fairly large retail company. The reception suite is also the lobby area for two other VPs and the first of several places you go to get to the CEO. They were interviewing potential new executives for a high-ranking position yesterday, and I overhear pretty much all of their conversations, so I knew that they had already internally decided to hire one particular applicant, and this last interview was just a formality. The CEO does a lot of undercover boss work. She's known for putting on workers' clothes and going into our factories, or going to the call center and handling customer service complaints herself. Her face isn't on the website, she doesn't appear in promotional materials, plus she has a gender-neutral name. She's really good at keeping it low-key. The new applicant came and tried to walk past the desk, even though it's set up so that it's pretty obvious you need to check in. I said, "Hi, excuse me, do you have an appointment?" And he just kind of grunted. I asked his name and who he was here to see so I could check him in. He just said, "I'm expected," but I kindly insisted I get his name and said something to the effect of, they like to get a heads up even before scheduled appointments to make sure all their ducks are in a row. In the interest of your valuable time. He rolled his eyes and gave me his name, and I realized he was the new executive they were likely hiring. He'd worked just across the hall when hired, so I wasn't thrilled about that, but tried to keep a calm demeanor because we'd have to get along. He'd basically be my boss soon. Within a couple of seconds of sitting down, he said, "Well, are they coming? Or did you even tell them I'm here?" I had paged the office phone. The person they were seeing was in a meeting that was running late, so I asked if he wanted coffee or water. He asked for a very elaborate coffee drink. All we have are Nescafe pods, but we're supposed to do whatever we can to avoid telling corporate visitors no. So I had someone go out to get his coffee from a Starbucks. Not even a thank you when she returned with it for him. The guy is getting increasingly more hostile, asking when his meeting will start, accusing me of bungling the schedule, unplugging our lamp without asking so he could charge his iPad, etc. That's when our CEO comes out. She goes, "I can start my shift early, you hop off." It isn't the first time she's come in pretending to be a receptionist. I deal with a lot of communications from people trying to get to the VPs, and she likes seeing how higher-ups within the company treat us lowly assistants. Couldn't have come at a better time. He snaps his fingers at her and shakes his empty coffee cup to signal he wants a refill. He has his feet on our coffee table. The CEO is seeing all of it, but I realize she doesn't know who the guy is or why he's here, so I think he'll probably end up hired anyways. As I start packing up, the guy begins to complain to her about his meeting running late, and basically says, "I hope you're better at your job than she is." The CEO is immediately turned off by that behavior. She apologizes for the wait and asks him if there was anything she could do to make his experience more pleasant. He says with a straight face, "Well, if you're really committed to excellent service, you could give me a quick blowy," then cackles in the grossest, most self-satisfied way. Then she gets up and introduces herself, and the guy goes pale as a ghost. He starts trying to say, "You know what, that came out wrong," but she tells him nothing he says now can undo what he's already said, and he'll have to wait for his meeting outside because the employees won't be subjected to that kind of treatment. Dumbstruck, he packs up and heads out. He's just down the corridor when the guy he's meeting with surfaces. I run to grab him. The CEO can't believe such a vulgar guy is meeting with someone so important and asks who he is. She recognizes the name as the one who's been selected as a hire in the email she CC'd on and goes, "No, oh no. This guy is a lawsuit waiting to happen." Besides, no one stupid enough to abuse the secretary at a job interview is qualified for this work. The one he was meeting with didn't see any of the preceding events, so is beyond confused. The interviewee knows he's sunk and just sheepishly leaves. Doesn't even say anything. Beautiful display. I love our CEO. Yes, wonderful. Keep abusers out of the workforce. Great. Moving on, our next story is titled, Weird Encounter at the Gym. This happened a few nights ago. I was at my usual gym, but a little later at night than usual because I had some overtime with work. There were much less people than normal during night than day, so there are also less staff. During the time, there's also one trainer, and he's busy with his 2 other trainees in the far corner. I was sitting by the bench, in between my sets, when a young lady came over to ask help to use the treadmill near my area. I gladly helped her out, and she went on using it, so I turned back now to go back to the bench area. But a much older lady grabbed my attention by tapping my shoulder. She said she can't turn on the treadmill right next to the young lady. I gladly obliged, but after twiddling with it, finding out if it was plugged in, etc., I can't seem to turn it on. I told her it's probably broken. I rarely use the treadmills, but I usually see it was out of order most of the time. So I offered her to use the other cardio machines instead, but she refused, saying she doesn't want those. How about the elliptical machine, or the stationary bike, I say. But it's not the same. Don't you even know how to start this thing? She said this condescendingly. Sorry, ma'am, but I really think it's broken. Why don't you try the other machines while you wait for the other customer to finish? These other machines should warm you up, and they're low impact and safe for the joints, too. Are you saying I can't handle a treadmill? She raised her voice. No, ma'am, I'm not making an assumption. I'm just No, you are discriminating your customers. You assisted her with all smiles and without any complaints. Just because she's younger? What, prettier? Hotter? This is unfair. You don't treat your customers equally. I should ask for a refund and take my membership elsewhere if you continue to have service like this. The front desk staff heard us and took over to calm her down and accompany her out, and made a quick hand gesture as she looked at me. I believe it meant she'll handle this, so I just left them and went back to the bench. I was a little amazed that the young woman in the treadmill didn't even bother and probably didn't even hear us under the headset. What kind of music was she listening to? I wonder. Anyway, I don't really know what kind of face I was making when I talked to her and the other lady. It must have been offending to talk to them differently, but I wasn't totally paying attention since I was just trying to help. I genuinely didn't mean any harm suggesting her to use a different machine, but I felt guilty. I went on to proceed with my sets. A little later, she came back and apologized. She told me she didn't know I wasn't gym staff, and since I was being very accommodating with the other customer, she just assumed. I'm practically wearing nothing resembling the uniforms of the staff, and I'm not even fit enough to look like a trainer, so I don't know what made her think that way. But she continued to talk to me and tell me stories about her previous experiences in her previous gym while I was doing my reps. I don't really listen anymore, since I'm just trying to concentrate on my last few pushes. Afterward, I stood up and told her I'll be doing the cable fly next, and I offered to help her out with the elliptical if she wants, but she said no. She'll just work out her hips instead. Guess what? It was right next to the cables, and she continued to tell me more stories about her life as she rotates left and right while I'm performing the rest of my workout. She began telling me the names of guys in the gym and telling me if I knew them. I know them by face, but I didn't really bother to even know their names, so I just kept saying no. I finished my workout a little earlier because I was super bummed out by listening to her voice. It was a mistake that I hadn't brought my headset too. As she continued to ask me more questions, I had to stop her mid-sentence and bid her goodbye. Sorry, ma'am. I just finished my workout and about to leave. The treadmill is free now if you want to use it. The young lady using it is now finished and using another machine. Nah, I'm done too. I'll go wash up the powder room in a minute. I grabbed my bag and proceeded to go to the men's room, and she tapped my shoulder again from behind before she entered the ladies' room. But I just washed my hands quickly to get out of there. It was super weird. I went out and nodded to the front desk staff as I passed her by. She was smiling at me and said, "She got you?" And I shook my head and just raised my hand to bid her goodbye without looking back. See, I've heard of gym rats, but I never heard of gym old ladies. This is a new one. And with that, that's about all the time we have for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning into Life Stories. My name is Trent. Glad we were able to get 2 stories in today, as per our pattern of having one giant one the last couple episodes. But hey, it happens. Anyway, as usual, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more Reddit content coming your way, and I will see you guys soon.